Hello YouTube, this is Jeff and welcome to part 1 of CSS Basics. In this video we'll talk about creating a CSS file and basic styling techniques with CSS. First of all, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and that is a basic language on the web that allows developers to control the presentational features of their website. So we've been talking about HTML in past videos and how that it's just used, or we just use it for structure. And although there are tags that can provide some presentational control, it's generally accepted that CSS is a more appropriate language for that task. So I have for this example created an HTML file, and we're looking at the preview of it here in Internet Explorer. Let's take a look at the markup I've set up. So here we have the index.html file in my Web Basics site in Dreamweaver, and we've started off with a simple HTML5 doc type with the HTML tag, a head, and a body. Inside our head, right now we just have the title, the char set, and then in our body we have all the content of our page. We're using some new tags here, new HTML tags. This is the header tag, and in it we just have our title there, or our main heading, which is CSS styling. Pretty simple. And then we have navigation, and we have a list for our navigation, which currently is just home, but we'll be adding to that. And we've used an unordered list. Then we have our main article, which contains the primary content for our site. So we have our paragraph tag. We've used the EM tag for the word structure because we wanted to emphasize it. And then we've used strong for the word style because we wanted to strongly emphasize that word. Then we have a block quote from Wikipedia. I've used the cite tag to call out that. And some definitions with the definition list. And then finally we have a footer. And the footer has an entity for the copyright symbol, Copyright Anyone 2005, and then a link. Okay, so this is the page we'll be using in our example. So now that we have our markup, we will use CSS to change the way this information is displayed on screen. To create a new CSS file in Dreamweaver, we choose File, New, and we select CSS from the list, choose Create. And here we have our CSS file. First thing we should do is save it. And I'm going to save it to my site folder. I'll create a new folder called Styles. And we will call this Style Sheet 1. There we go. We can see in our Files menu. Now, in order to link these two files together, we're going to use a link tag. So we can go ahead and write as many rules as we want here in our style sheet file, but it will not affect the index.html unless it is linked explicitly in this file. So in this code. So in the head, we're going to write a link tag. And the link tag needs a couple of attributes for this to work properly. So the first one is href. And here we can refer to our file, which is stylesheet1.css. Then we'll use the rel attribute. This is a style sheet. This is relation. And it's the type, which is text CSS. Now if I refresh the page, Dreamweaver creates a sub-tab here, which is a handy feature. We can close this file now, and we can actually work right in here with an index. This is nice because we can utilize the split screen so that we can kind of preview our styling on the fly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write a new rule for this H1 here. I can see. Oops. There we go. That is H1, CSS styling. So a CSS file is just a text document with CSS code, and the way CSS is written is first you specify a selector. So down here I have a little definition. A selector designates which elements to change the appearance. Looks like the grammar is a little screwed up there. We'll fix that later. So first we want to change H1, so we need to call it out with a selector. So we simply write out the element that we're going to change. And then we use curly brackets. And inside the curly brackets we state the property we're going to change and the new value, or the value we're going to set for that property. Because these can be lengthy, I like to space this out with some returns. There we go. And I will put all of my properties in here on lines 5. Well, this closing bracket will expand depending on how many properties I decide to change. So let's start with color. Color colon. We'll just type red. Here we go. We can see our change. So what I've done is I've written a selector for H1, and I've said change the color to red. And you can see the syntax here. We have property with a colon, and then the value, and then a semicolon at the end of the value. So we can select as many properties as we need. So let's change the background color. And I'm going to say yellow. There we go. We can see the background colors changed to yellow. So you can specify as many properties as you need to change, but you have to include the semicolon at the end of each one, otherwise they won't work properly. If I remove that semicolon and I try to preview it, I've lost both styling changes. And there we go. It's fixed. A selector will scan your document and select everything that sort of fits its definition. So if we have the paragraph tag used in multiple cases here, which we do, we have welcome to cascading style sheets, that is a paragraph tag, and then within this block quote, this quote from Wikipedia is also a paragraph tag. So if I select the P tag and change color again, there we go. We should see this change both sets of the P tag. There we go. Now sometimes we don't want to use a color, we want to be more specific, and we can do that with hexadecimal color. So Dreamweaver creates this little color picker that's very handy, and you can preview the color before you select it. There we go. It's probably a bad idea to use blue because it's very easily confused with links. So let's choose something a little different. Let's use a darker shade of green. There we go. Nice dark green. choose a pink for the background color. There we go. Okay, so we are changing things like colors here, but we can also change the fonts. So let's change this H1 font. I'm going to use font family, and I'm going to select a list fonts here. There we go. So the way font family works is the font family property allows you to specify a list of typefaces to use. So Georgia is our first preference. So if the user has Georgia installed on their computer, it's going to use that font. If the user does not have Georgia installed, it's going to go to your second choice, which is Times New Roman. A font that has spaces needs to be written with inside quotes. And then my third choice here is Times, and my fourth choice is serif, which is just a generic font term. So perhaps they're not previewing our website on a computer. Maybe it's a browser on a mobile phone. So it may just display in serif depending on the platforms being used. Okay, so that about wraps it up for part 1 of this video. Join us in the next video, where we discuss different ways to write CSS and get into some other properties that we can use to mark up our website. Thank you for watching.